The challenge too, who was in fact quite known in the Seattle area for being a dangerous motherfucker. All right? And the first thing this guy did when I came into the door was grab a gun, shove it down my throat, and say, "So you want to talk big now, New York?" And I was like, The only reason why this worked for me is because in no way did I believe that I was in any danger from being shot. But I gave myself over to the drama of the moment. And boy, was it worth every minute. He did not use bondage on me. He didn't even suggest that I might need it. If I fell down, he started kicking me until I got up. I thought that was really good. Incentives, I'm all about incentives. At one point, he has sliced my back to ribbons with scalpels. I did not know this because I was blindfolded at the time, but I could feel the blood dripping down my body. Then he took fucking rubber hoses and beat the cuts. I understand they were still cleaning the blood off the cabinets a week later, because they would find it in the cracks and that sort of thing. I was having the fucking time of my life. I was in this transcendent moment of, oh my God, I feel in such danger and yet I feel safe at the same time. This is awesome. And that's about as much as I could think, until he grabbed my hand and held it flat and said, "I understand that you do not wish me to interrupt your ability to make a living." And I felt the point of a knife on my palm. He said, "I understand you make a living by writing, which usually entails holding a pen or a pencil or typing. You may remove your hand at any time." That motherfucker! You know I didn't take my hand away. And I'm feeling like the skin peeling, and I'm just, ugh! And he said, "Put your hand down. Give me the other one." It was all bullshit. It's a sharpened piece of ice. The dripping of the water and the fact that my brain was on another planet at the time helped me believe he was cutting my hands to ribbons. That was pretty fucking hot. Then he had his boy take me off to the bathroom, give me a nice bath, because I was kind of dirty, covered in blood and spit and cum and all sorts of interesting things. I get washed off. The boy's like, "Let me put this on you. You know, Daddy says this will help the cuts." So he put some powder on me. It feels fine. I get dressed. We have a nice civilized drink. I go back to the house I'm staying. I go upstairs, take a shower. The powdered stuff in my cuts is powdered buttermilk. I get under hot water, which activates the lactic acid in the buttermilk. Splits every cut on my body open. Karen hears me from downstairs. "You motherfucker!" The date calls. "Is she feeling it yet?" "Karen, I think so." That was like day 3. I still had many more dates. Toward the end of the week, I'm in Portland, having been driven there by 2 SM hippies. Who do not, Conrad and Margaret, they're hippies. They were doing vegan SM before there was a word for it. And they're driving me there and they're like, "You know, Laura, you're sounding more and more like one of those crazy edge players." And I was like, "That's because I am." And of course, that was way back in the old days, and so we didn't have like a Starbucks on every corner in New York, but there is in Seattle. And so I was like jacked up on espresso too. Like espresso and SM and being on stage. And they delivered me to Portland, where I deliver the annual speech to the Rose City Discussion Group, which is a happy, horny hets group. And their annual meeting is held in the tiki room of this Polynesian restaurant. And so there's like 100 heterosexual people drinking from plastic pineapples. And I give my speech, and these 2 leather dykes come in butter soft black leather cop uniforms. And because it's Portland, they have firearms, you know, that are real. And I'm like, "My date's here. I have to go." And they proceed to grab me and throw me over a table and handcuff me, throw my jacket over my back, and they're leading me out of the tiki room, and I'm like, thank God I'm leaving the tiki room. And I hear Margaret following us saying, Laura, I made truffles. Do you want them for your aftercare? And this is where things went really bad. Now, I'm afraid I should stop here, right? Because I've used my time.
You are such a man.
All right. So they take me out to the parking lot. They throw me in the back seat of the car. Now, what they do not know is that all week I've been waiting for a chance to use the fact that I have taped to the inside of my wrist a speed key. And I'm like, they have handcuffed me, I'm gonna get loose! This is gonna be so much fun, because then I'm gonna get the shit beaten out of me by two hot dykes in leather cop uniforms! This is gonna be awesome. So I'm like maneuvering to get the speed key out, and then I see that there's someone in the back seat of the car, and I was like, fuck, they're professionals. So they throw me on the floor in the back seat, they throw a blanket over me, they start the car, and they start driving off. Now, mind you, one of my restrictions in my limits was don't talk to me. I was like, seriously, you want to threaten me? Fine. You want to have a whole monologue at me about how you're going to fuck me up? Fine. But if you expect an answer, not good. Don't expect me to converse with you. I am totally going to be a victim. I don't want to be complicit in these things. Also, do not make mention of who I am, because I'm kind of sick of that shit. This was like a long time ago. Imagine why I don't play in public now. And don't ask me to tell you a story. Because I get paid for that shit. So, what happens, I get thrown in the backseat of the car, and this girl leans over me and says, Laura, Laura. And I'm thinking she's going to give me instructions about don't move or we'll kill you or whatever. She's like, Laura, you know who my favorite character is in one of your books? And I'm like, oh no, no, no. And I'm handcuffed to the backseat of the car and I can't say, shut up! I love Robin. Robin is like the story of my life. And I'm like, shut up! These lovely women take me to a professional dominatrix's salon where there's gorgeous equipment, and it's obvious they've set aside this night for me. They lit candles and shit, and they tie me to fancy equipment. They're putting sutures in me, they're hanging things off me, you know, they beat me and blah blah blah, and then they start talking to me. First they say, tell us a story, and I said, no. And they're like, hey, you're a famous storyteller, tell us a story. And I was like, no, I don't have any stories. So they went away, conversed, came back, and said, so, tell us who killed Martin Luther King Jr. I'm like, okay. Just so happens, in my youth, I made a study of serial killers and murderers and assassins. And so I started answering these questions about guess the killer, guess the kidnapper. And it happened that I knew most of them, because I'm a sick fuck. And then they get to one I couldn't remember the name of. I was very proud that I remembered Sirhan. But anyway, they get to one, I can't remember this guy's name. And then they start beating me again, thank God. However, my brain is still, okay, who was it? Robert? Was it Richard? What was it? He was on the tower at the University of Austin in Texas. He was Alan? No. Arnold? No. They're doing all sorts of dramatic shit to me. I am somewhere else. Because they asked me a question. So finally someone smacks me across the face, and what do? What? And they're like, where are you? And I said, I'm trying to remember who the guy was with the shotgun on the top of the tower shooting people in Austin. They had to leave. They went to the other room, they laughed. They came back, proceeded to torture me some more, but it was kind of clear that we were done, because there was no way of recapturing the magic after that. And then they packed me up and they delivered me to my last date, which was this lovely, lovely butch femme couple in Portland, in a lovely Victorian house with a basement dungeon, where they took one look at me after I was delivered to their door. And let me tell you, I've been playing hard for a week. All right? They took one look at me and they said, let's put her to bed. And they did. They tied me to the bed. very nicely. I slept like a rock. I woke up the next morning, they made me waffles. They took a look at my body. And they realized, although they didn't tell me this till later, there was not a single safe space on my body to fit. They had a conference. They tried to figure out what to do. They said, well, we promised to play. She wants to play hard. Let's take her down to the